Ryan, how's it going?
Good, good. Just sharing this meeting invite with one more person. How's everything going, Jacob?
Good, good. Busy. I saw the infographic you posted. That was pretty cool.
ChatGPT. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's pretty good at
Yeah. Like
creating.
it used to like the wordings or in images would it just not do it properly, but now it's that infographic turned out pretty good. I mean I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think it was AI when I first
Really
saw it. Like usually when you see like certain things you're like, okay, that was AI generated. But that one I didn't think about it, you know?
interesting. That's good. Yeah, I mean it messed it up a couple times. I was trying to get like the benchmark information in there somehow, but it was having trouble understanding how to visualize, like visually represent where we were versus our benchmark. So I was like, just forget about it. Like, just put the numbers up there. Um, so yeah, it's getting there. It's really powerful. It's better than me trying to go to Canva and spend an hour creating the infographic.
Yeah. And have you seen the Anthropic ads?
I did, yeah.
Those have been, but I don't know if the people like, I don't know if they're gonna work in the way they want them to. I think they're funny, but I think you kind of left with the negative perception of AI and ads, and the last logo you see is Claude, not ChatGPT. So yeah, but
Yeah, it's pretty provocative. I liked it though.
yeah, they're funny.
All right. We got nine in here now. Maybe we'll give it one more minute and let you start. People often trickle in. Um, but I feel like they'd be able to pick up whenever they join. Just making sure no one's in the waiting room. No. Okay. All right. For those who've joined, we're going to kick things off. Jacob has spoken once before in a different capacity to the community, but Um, I've like grown to know Jacob and Story Leads over the last 6 months. I think they do an incredible job of getting lawyers to, I guess, one, get comfortable with sort of a different method of approaching LinkedIn, but also just in getting results, like getting um, your story as a practitioner out there and in a way that like really resonates with people and also sees like results on like orders of magnitude more than you're used to in terms of impressions and ideally new business. So that's probably the best intro I could do. But Jacob's become like a wizard in this stuff, and I wanted to get him in front of you all and let him talk a little bit about the business he runs and how he helps lawyers. So that's that.
Awesome, cool. Well, thanks for having me. It was fun last time, and I'm sure it'll be fun this time again. Cool. So I'll share my screen and I can walk you guys out. Just send a request to share.
Yeah. All right. Just granted.
All right. Right, you see that? Okay.
Yep.
Right. We lost you now. Okay, here we are. All right. So yeah, so our company Story Leads. I'm Jacob, founder of Story Leads. Been working on Story Leads for the last probably 2 years, almost 2 years ago, so a year and a half. we write for 75 lawyers on LinkedIn. So there's a good chance if you spend any time on LinkedIn and you're on the law side of LinkedIn, you've probably seen our stuff. You maybe just didn't realize that we co-wrote it. But yeah, our whole value proposition from the beginning has been how can you help busy lawyers get all their LinkedIn content out in just an hour per month. But most importantly, become the go-to attorney, go-to lawyer in their practice area, and in most cases in their location, because we work a lot with family law, personal injury, criminal defense, and those are bound by their state, by sometimes even by their county, and so that's kind of how we've approached it. We work with a lot of corporate attorneys as well, IP attorneys, trademarks as well. So yeah, but I kind of walk you through kind of how it works. And so the way we achieve this is by first focusing on the ICP. In my last talk or presentation to Hay Council, this is something we went pretty deep on. But understanding who your ICP is the single most important thing about LinkedIn. It's about business in general, but about specifically about LinkedIn, because if you're going to be writing to those people, you need to be very clear on what understanding of what their fears, dreams, wants, and aspirations are, so that we can first craft a profile. So that's what we do first. We start by setting up the profile. So we redo the banner, the featured section, headline, about section, everything. Think about it like a website revamp, but for your LinkedIn profile. And once that's set up, the goal there is really to know, like, okay, well, Mike, if I land on Mike's profile or Stephanie's profile, they know exactly what kind of lawyer you are and how you help, right? And how you and exactly the work that you do, and so that when they land on your profile, it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly the type of lawyer I was looking for or not. But it has to be clear distinction, because they can't land on your profile and be like unclear about what you do. That's the worst thing you want, because anybody unclear is just not going to take the next step. And so once we have the profile set up, then we go into the content. So the way we do the content is through 1 hour interviews every month. And that's how we extract the stories, the insights, because we're not subject matter experts, you are. And so the way the process works is we have a team that does research before, that prepares a bunch of topics based on what we've seen perform in the past. So we have a database of 7,000 posts on LinkedIn, labeled by practice area, by topic. And so we bring that into the research. We look at other posts that we haven't written for in your niche. And we'll look also at Reddit. We'll look at all sorts of other different platforms where the content may be relevant. And then we source that for the research, and then we prepare a one pager. And that one pager gets submitted to a content strategist that is associated to account. That content strategist will add their notes and share it before the interview, so that you just get a refresher on the topics that you're going to be discussing. Because sometimes when you're on the spot, you can't think of the stories or the anecdotes, and you're like, oh crap, I know there's something, but I can't remember. So we send that over in advance so you can start warming up to those questions. And then you show up to the interview, and the interview is really, we go through kind of what's top of mind, and then we fall back on the research for additional topics and stuff that we're trying to fill the content with. And so the content is mainly composed of three things, really: personal stories, anecdotes, kind of stuff that you're seeing more and more on LinkedIn, because people are being more personal on LinkedIn. It's not just announcements and new jobs and all that. Second, content is like your expertise, so the kind of work that you do, the kind of outcomes you generate, all story driven. And then also the last one is like how you take care of clients, how you think about them, how you help them, and how you put them first in your practice, so that we can communicate that to your audience, so that they understand that you'd be a great lawyer to hire, like for all those three reasons. One, they could grab coffee with you and they feel like you're a pretty chill person, and they would be happy to hang out with you. Two, you generate great outcomes, and three, you take great care of your clients. And then the last piece is the prospecting. So this is again focusing back on who the ICP is being clear about who we're targeting, who's the audience. So if we have like a healthcare attorney, she targets med spas owners and operators in the US. And so we find all the med spas owners, founders, CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and we add them to our network. Because what we're trying to do here is basically force LinkedIn to distribute your content to those people first. And so by having them as first degree connections, especially like once you initially connect or send a DM, you'll notice that when you just recently added the connection, the next post you'll see probably on the feed is that person's post, if they post. And so by doing that, you're basically forcing your content up on their feed. And so being intentional by who you send connection requests is important, because then you're basically making sure that you're showing the content to the right groups of people. And so once we know your audience, connect with your ideal client profiles or referral partners, we post valuable content consistently, we know we can stay top of mind within your target audience. And so essentially what you get is a full LinkedIn audit. full LinkedIn profile revamp, 6 months worth LinkedIn content, and we prospect up to 400 connections per month. So LinkedIn only allows up to 400 connections per month. We usually don't tap those out because we try to stay around like the 350 mark. So we give you guys space this. If you see somebody you want to add, you can do it, maxed out. And you're like, oh crap, I can't send the connection request because that tends to happen. Um, and yeah, and so the first week we do strategy and profile. So we'll sit down, review strategy, and we'll take care of the profile in the meantime. And then the second week we do an interview. And exceptionally for the first month, we do back-to-back weeks of interview because we want to make sure we have a good backlog of content, so we're not chasing you for anything. So so if you're on vacation, travel, work, conference, whatever it is, no worries. We have 2, 3, 4 weeks of pre-planned content, but nothing goes out without your approval. Everything gets redlined by you. You comment, we edit until he gives a thumbs up. We won't schedule it. And that's it. We just add the connections. They see your content. They view your profile. And they DM you, DM them. In some cases, like I was saying, the healthcare attorney, Sarah Schickman, she's in New York. We find all the med spas owners and operators. We found Tatiana. We added her. She saw our content. She viewed her profile, and she DM'd her. Your last post makes me want to work directly with you on strategy for my practices. And that's textbook stuff. Doesn't always happen that way. But the cool thing about LinkedIn is that for every Tatiana that DMs you, there's 10, 15, 20 that get stuck in the profile view. And that's probably the best feature, in my opinion, the best feature on LinkedIn is you get to see who views your profile. So that's one great validation on if the content is performing, is resonating with the right groups of people. Because in her case, if med spas owners and operators are visiting her profile, then we know we're doing a good job. We know the content is resonating with the right groups of people. They may just not be ready to make that step and send a message, but at least you get to see them. You get to send them a connection request, and you can even send them a message or just say, "Hey, by the way, saw you like you might be enjoying the content, or I don't know if there's a post that stood out, but by the way, I have this free resource. I'd be more than interested in sending to you. It's like a checklist for like I don't know, legal breakdown when starting your med spa, like uh, um, things you shouldn't do or whatever, things you should avoid. You can send me your email and I'll send it over. So there's like different ways to engage and build that relationship and bring it to like email or other channels. And the funny thing is, we can always pinpoint the exact moment we took over the accounts because every single metric is up and to the right from the moment we took over the account. Right for commercial litigators, healthcare lawyers you saw like Sarah, they all get tens of thousands, 100,000, some case millions of impressions. I was just saying before, we write for 20 or 25 personal injury lawyers on LinkedIn. And Lowy's our first one. It's funny. He was very active on LinkedIn and Twitter, or X, so he understood the social game. In 2024, I think he had done 1.4 million impressions. We took over his account mid-January of last year, so 2025. We did 7.6 million impressions. But the impressions are great. But what we're trying to drive is profile views. And so if you look in the chart below, and this is why it's important to have the profile set up first. But these impressions, as the content starts picking up, you'll notice that the profile views, he was at 50, 60 profile views per week. Now he's hitting 2,500 profile views per week. So in his case, it's all referral partners. He's not getting like car crashes or slip and falls from LinkedIn. What he's getting is referrals from other criminal defense attorneys, family law attorneys, or maybe PI attorneys out of state that are referring the cases. And he commented recently, I think it was on a post on LinkedIn, and I didn't even know this. I knew he had gotten a few referrals from LinkedIn, but in the last 18 months, he's gotten $1.7 million in settlements attributed purely to LinkedIn referrals, which is pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, and so again, that's why this is the goal is like driving profile views up so people the content brings discovery, makes your profile discoverable, and then brings them to your profile so that they can know more about you. Completely different example. Monica Ishak should never post on LinkedIn. I heard her story on a podcast and I said, you have to share this on LinkedIn. So I interviewed her, wrote a few posts, and she blew up right away. She had 2 million impressions in the first quarter of the year. But again, biggest thing is she got 12,000 profile views from like up from zero or one, like almost non-existent because she wasn't posting. And the craziest thing is she got her first federal criminal case off LinkedIn because another criminal defense attorney saw her post, reached out in the DM, started messaging. They went back and forth, and eventually asked her, "Hey, you would be interested in co-chairing on this case?" And she said yes. And then another interesting story: she got a client out of jail because of LinkedIn. And um, so this one, what happens? She shows up to the courthouse, and the prosecutor's there, and she says, "Hey, I know you. I recognize you." He says, "Sorry, I don't recognize you." He says, "No, it's because I follow you on LinkedIn. I love your stuff." And so what I didn't know is that rapport between opposing counsels and especially in like small courthouse work like DUIs and stuff like that is super important. So if you know the prosecutor, not that he's going to get your client like off the hook, but like he's more he may accept the demands that you're making a bit more easily. And so ultimately, which led to get her client out of jail. But yeah, I write for like 25 to 75 plus attorneys, 20, 25 personal injury, a bunch of criminal defense, family law, lawyer coaches. So we work with like legal vendors too. So lawyers that get try to get attention, or I should say vendors that try to get attention of lawyers. So Gary Miles is one of them. It's funny. We had a mutual client, Lonnie. She introduced me to Gary because Gary didn't believe that her post had blown up. First post I ever wrote for Lonnie was did 100K. And he's like, that's not possible. I don't believe it. I've been posting for 6 years on LinkedIn. It's never happened. So I said, Gary, let me interview you. Let me write a couple posts. And I wrote 3 posts for him. And these were the 3 posts I wrote. And he's referred me to all of his clients since. Yeah, I write for, again, criminal defense, personal injury, employment law. We do a lot of employment law. They really crush it on LinkedIn because the employees are there. And so it's been great working with them. But yeah, criminal defense. I mean, I mean, there's so many of them. PI, these are just some of them. Family law. I mean, it was Lonnie. So this was the first post I ever wrote for her, and that was the one that got Gary's attention. But we do immigration. We do a lot of immigration too, and yeah, family law. And I'll tell you guys this story. So Daniel Schneiderman launched this firm last year in March, and he was a client of Gary Miles. Gary Miles introduced me to him, and we wrote his launch post, and we writing 2 posts every week. And then 2 months in, he gets a message from an IP lawyer out of Arizona saying, "Hey, my client just got into a ATV accident in the Palm Spring Desert. Can you take a look at it?" So he takes a look at the case. So the client's a YouTube creator, great insurance, ATV company, great insurance. It's an 8-figure case. It's going to sell for multi 7 figures. And we're talking like 2 months into founding his firm. It's going to bankroll his firm for the next couple of years probably. But that was just like just being top of mind. Just like he didn't know that IP lawyer. I don't remember. Maybe they know him from a while back, but like that post or a couple posts allowed him to just stay top of mind enough to be able to get that DM, which turned out to be very pretty good payout. But yeah, business, right for business, state lawyers, M&A, family law, a lot of PI, I said, family probate, employment law. Again, those crush. And Yeah, I guess I'll share this last story. It was a pretty interesting one. So Catherine found me through a webinar I was hosting about LinkedIn, like just like this, and well, just more like the last one I did, and she showed up on the call, and I remember her name, but she didn't ask any questions. And I saw her on my feed a couple of days later. I said, how's LinkedIn going? Plaintiff employment lawyer on LinkedIn must be crushing it, right? She said, no, it's been really tough. So I said, really? I said, let's jump on the call. So we jumped on the call. She shared her story. So she had dealt with retaliation harassment at her previous job, which led her to quit and become a plaintiff employment lawyer. And when I hear a story like that, first of all, it just sounds very mission driven. It just sounds different when she says it, right? She's trying to help the people that were in her shoes, right, in that terrible position. And so I asked her one question. I said, "Are you okay if you never present a defendant ever again?" She said, "Yes, I don't want to, just plaintiff." I said, "Perfect." I said, "Tonight you're gonna go on Amazon. You're gonna buy a whiteboard and you write this." So I made her write "HR is not your friend." I wrote the post. She took the picture. That post had 6.2 million impressions. That post alone took her from 800 followers to 28,000 followers in 10 days. But the craziest part is she got slammed with like, I think it's like 1,000 DMs in the first 7 days. Like I couldn't even chat with her on LinkedIn anymore because my DMs were getting pushed down so fast because every few seconds there was a new message coming in. Just people like pouring their HR horror stories. And so at the end of it all, I think like in the first 14, 21 days, she got like 3,000 messages. She got 90 cases out of it. She's only licensed in New York and California. She had to refer out the 75 cases, but that built her referral network overnight. And mind you, she had a three-month-old firm. She had no, and she had just gotten started. And she took on 15 cases, and those 15 cases, she spoke a couple of weeks ago, are estimated values $25 million. She's suing Netflix for 6.5 million for wrongful termination, a sexual harassment suit of a flight attendant on a private jet, made the LA Times. She's suing JP Morgan. She's suing she's got all these huge cases. Now she's at 60,000 followers. She got a book deal. But yeah, it just transformed her life. Like just goes to show like just proper framing, proper like packaging of the story just makes a whole difference. I mean, her post before were doing 800 impressions per post, and now that post alone basically transformed her business. Doesn't have this does not this is not your typical like like result, but it just goes to show that like there is so much upside that I think be worth posting on LinkedIn for. Um, but yeah, we've written over, I think, 7,000 posts on LinkedIn. We put out about 500 posts per month. So we have a pretty good idea of what works and what doesn't. You'll notice that many of our posts don't have pictures. Some of them do, and the ones that do, it's because they're contextually relevant to the post itself. So for like this one's my favorite, one of my favorites. So this one was a tweet that a paralegal found that got his client a better settlement because obviously they realized that the driver was drunk, and so the insurance policy went they were would go able to go above the policy limits, but yeah, these picture like this picture was like his launch pictures when he launched his firm. So we took that through like throwbacks. And this was the paralegal that wrote the post that not that that found the tweet. So we wrote the post about her, and so that's relevant. But many of the posts like this, I filed 98% of my cases straight to lawsuit. Don't need a picture. Or I memorized a 20-minute opening statement. Don't need any picture. Um, like this one, obviously talking about OJ, it makes sense to bring up a picture, but most of the pictures don't. The posts don't have pictures, unless they're again contextually relevant. Still talking about the tariffs. So obviously this is pretty, it was a hot topic then. And but yeah, that's kind of yeah. I can't put them all in here to post because we've written so many, but you kind of get the idea. Um,
A lot of them also are on your website, so worth anyone kind of scrolling through to see ones that might be more relevant to your practice area. But Jacob, I want to ask you just a quick question because most of the lawyers in our group are business attorneys, not PI, not
yeah,
we have a couple of family law and trust and estates and things like that. I know you have some examples of like we have a bunch of employment lawyers, but we also have a lot of M&A and kind of like your normal corporate stuff and privacy. Are there good examples of, what works well for those niches? Are you learning a lot about those niches and what works well? It's not obviously as provocative as like a really juicy employment law story, but I'm sure there are tricks and ways that you use to make sort of like the mundane business stuff actually be exciting and
yeah.
yeah.
It really doesn't have to be. Like this is a good example. So she's an M&A broker. When a top PE analyst finally left his Bloomberg terminal to visit a target company, he spotted 50 million opportunity. It was in any spreadsheet. Here's what happened. That did almost 500,000 impressions. That's an M&A broker. That's not like it's again it's the first two, three sentences of your post. And
Mhm.
then obviously like the storyline as it goes through the post. But um it like I would say this, like you don't need 1 million people or 500,000 people to see your stuff. You really don't. Like if you're an M&A broker or you're a healthcare attorney targeting business owners, um, you don't need that many people to see. Like there's not 1 million people you can serve. Like there's just not 1 million healthcare businesses in the US or CEOs in the US. And so it's not about reaching these kinds of numbers. It's more about like you want to reach at least 10K, 15K, 20K impressions on your post on the stories that are relevant to them. That's kind of like how I see it. Like the big numbers obviously attract like a lot of people, and that's they 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 show good writing. They show like appear as a great performing post, but really what you're looking for is just making sure that the post resonates and drives DMs and drives likes and comments from the people, or at least profile views from those people. So it's not like you you don't need like 1 billion views on your content, especially not in the practice. All you need to do is send connection requests. I mean, I'll give you an example. My profile is exactly that. Like my content does not do 100,000 impressions, 300,000. It's done a couple times, but most of my posts do between 5K and 15K, and it's seen by like I'll show you something. This is the metric that this is the stuff that I look for on a regular basis. And when I go to my profile and I look at a post, for example, so if I take this post, for example, of a post we wrote, I'll just click into view analytics here and I'll see that one. See that one did 5,000 impressions. And what I'm looking for is here, post viewer demographics. And I'm looking at industry. So now I know that 58, 59% of the people that saw the post are lawyers. And that to me is what I'm looking for. And that's what you should be looking for. So it's not because a lot of people, the trap that most people fall into is they start writing content that is law related if they're corporate lawyers targeting business owners because it feels good to see the impression count go up. But then when you look at the demographics, you're like, oh, well, the industry is all law practice. It's none of the business owners I'm trying to target, right? So this is the true metric. Like this is what you want to be looking at. Is my post being shown to the right people? And if it's not, it's because you're not writing about the right stuff. And so that's that two things that need to be done: adjusting the content, but most importantly, making sure that the connection requests you're sending out um, are also because you may have just like most of your connections may be from law school and like and a couple of corporate law jobs you had, and these are all lawyers in your network. And so they have no interest in the stuff that you have to talk about because you're not going to get business from them necessarily. You may get a referral, but that's not what you're trying to do. And so you want to make sure that you're, like I said, prospecting and actively finding the relevant connections. And that's what we help do. We find the relevant connections, we add them to your network, and then on top of that, we put a content strategy behind it that targets those kinds of people. So you get because when I started at 1,500 connections, now I have 7,500. I didn't have a single lawyer in my network. My posts at the beginning were 500 impressions, 20% lawyers. So I had to work really hard to grow those lawyers into my account, into my network, and then posting about it consistently so that I would get the 60% plus. Like if I could pay to have 100%, I would. Like that would be my goal. It's not possible because this is organic, right? You can't control who gets to see it, gets to see it. But I like above 50% is where I'm kind of happy. 60 above 60% is pretty good. So that's how I would think about it.
Awesome. And does anyone on the call have any questions for Jacob? I know we could talk about like the services and the pricing breakdown, but I want to make sure people who have questions can jump in.
Hey, Brian, I had one question um, for Jacob.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for doing this, Jacob. That's a really great presentation. I think actually, now that I'm on this call, I think I was on the first call that you did. It's been some time ago, but this kind of rings a bell a little bit. I had two questions. One of them is really kind of a follow-up to Brian's earlier question about practice area. So, and kind of taking maybe this a step deeper. So, like for example, my practice is a fractional general counsel practice, primarily in technology law, data privacy, data security. So, is that something you have experience with and are comfortable working with?
Yeah. So that like we have two playbooks. We have one
Yeah.
playbook that is like the referral playbook, where it's like
Hmm.
PI, family law, criminal defense, and some other attorneys that don't want to go like the direct business route. They want like they're trying like medical malpractice or whatever. They're trying to stay top of mind when they're in the referral network. And then the other playbook, which is much more similar to my playbook, is direct to the business owners. And so uh it's again it's the strategy is different from the content from the interviews from the very beginning, like the strategy, the profile, everything gets redone for that. So that would be more of the strategy we would implement for you. One of the other things that we also give you is a payment engagement playbook. So we provide for like commenting and engaging and DMing within those within those groups. And the other recommendation that we make too is running what we call the biz dev show. And so as a fractional general counsel, and you said which it was in security. What was the
Yeah.
niche?
My two primary clients are cybersecurity and then software as a service.
Okay, perfect. So I would try to pick one or the. I know they're pretty interrelated. They're both kind of in tech, but cybersecurity is
Yeah.
a niche of that, I guess. But what I would do is, on top of sending all the connection requests to those, what I would consider doing is running a LinkedIn mini series where you spotlight founders of or general counsels, but not because you're in the professional. So it would have to be the founders of these startups, of these
Mhm.
cybersecurity companies, and then spotlighting the work and the company and the work that they do. And
Yeah.
so the reason I say this is because it's a great way in to get building rapport and relationship with those founders. And so they get slammed with a bunch of vendors, just like probably you get in the message in your DMs on LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
so when you pitch an opportunity to come on the show and to market their startup, their business, their story, they tend to say yes. And
Yeah.
so you can come and have them on the call, and on the call you can get their story, you can write the post, you can tag and comment, and then you get exposure to their networks. Because what's going to happen is they're going to comment on your post, spotlighting the work that they do, right? And your take on it. And so it's a great way for you to get more of exposure in those, in your case, cybersecurity networks. And so that's something I would do to build rapport really quickly. And because the thing is, if the when the time is ready and they need to work with a fractional GC, well, who do you think they're going to call? The one that interviewed them and provided value to their business, to their personal brand, or the person they found on Google? It's a much that's the, by the way, that's the exact playbook I ran to grow to 75 lures in about a year and a half.
Yeah.
I would just send out messages to lawyers, say, "Hey, I'd like to spotlight you." I would write the post. I would spotlight them on my profile, and then the next thing they ask is like, "Why are you doing this?" And I say, "Oh, because this is what I do." And then they would say, like, "How does it work to keep going?" And then they just kind of so that call, that interview you have with that cybersecurity founder, he may just ask you like, "So what are you doing this?" or "What do you do?" Just to reciprocate because he feels compelled to do so because you're providing so much value up front by just interviewing.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So yeah, so that's the
Appreciate that.
playbook.
Yeah.
That's the like more direct playbook.
Okay, that's great. And I had two questions, but you answered the second question before I even asked. It was about focus on, the particular market that you're trying to
Niching,
appeal to. Yeah.
yeah, niching down is the best thing you could do. I'll tell you something that we niche down to lawyers at the very beginning, and it exploded our business because by niching down, you'll realize that the people that are in the industry all know each other. And so if you work with one, you work with two, and you just work with all of them, you'll just be the go-to person for that industry. And so when you start talking about the clients that you have and how they're all kind of like in that same niche, well, the fact that these companies trust you, I mean, it's like they may like those founders and they'll be like, oh, I'll trust Mike too. Like if they like the trust gets built way faster because they
Yeah.
realize that you're working with all these people.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for doing this.
No, of course. Any other questions?
Should we jump to pricing?
All right, let's do it. Um, yeah, so it's a 6 month agreement. It's 48 posts. It's about 2, 3 posts per week. Used to do 5 posts per week, but realized it's really hard to maintain quality. So what we tell all of our clients is when they see Mike, they see Paul, they see Ajahn Claire on the feed, I want the people linked in to be like, damn, Aaron, Stephanie, they have great content to share. They always have great content to share. I'm gonna read it. And the only way you achieve that is by putting out really high quality stuff. And so we want to make sure that we're putting out the best version of the story as possible and not so much like as many stories as possible. Because there's tremendous amount of content online. And so you just want to make sure that yours is kind of standing out and for good reason. And in terms of pricing, we have 2 plans. When we started, we'd sign NDAs with all of our clients. We just assumed that ghostwriting would be taboo like music and book writing. So we said, like, that's just how it's gonna have to be. I'd have to put an NDA and like nobody's gonna know we're working together, whatever. Until an attorney showed up and said, hey, this is a bit pricey for me, but if you give me a discount, I'll share with my network. And that changed everything for us. I said, look, if I could put you in my presentation, talk about our wins on LinkedIn, and put you on my website, I'll slash the price in half. Because that for us, you can't imagine how hard it is to get on these calls and be like, trust me, I'm really good at what I do, but I can't show you any of my clients or any work I've done. It's a really tough sell. And so for that reason, we came up with 2 plans. So one, we signed the NDA. Nobody knows we're working together. It's private. And then versus we waive the NDA and then we can be public about the work that we do together. And that's the reason that we could put all these screenshots in is because these people have waived the NDA and they're cool with us marketing them as part of our client base.
All right. Any questions on that? And then if not, we can probably wrap it up. Yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed when I see the numbers. And it just makes me feel like, I mean, you see me post a lot. I'm managing all that on my own. So I have moments of maybe this is a good fit for Hate Council too.
But you notice this, the moment you post more, the more impressions you get, the more signups you get, no?
Yeah, I mean, I've there's definitely a material difference between months where I'm posting a lot and months where I'm not, for sure. And a lot of my pain is just the consistency part of it and figuring out what to write about. It takes time, and
Yeah.
um, I think there's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think there's something to be said for knowing you're doing it the right way. I mean, I don't, when I post, I don't know if I'm doing best practices or using the right hooks or sending using graphics in the right way. So, um, it's a shame when I put in all the effort and it's not. It's funny, like the ones I don't put a lot of effort in seem to do better than the ones I care more about and try to put a lot of effort in. So it's like a total upside down world for me. But yeah, I mean, I'm always blown away by the numbers that you show and your success and when people work with you, the good things they have to say. So it's cool. I'm glad we can get you on here.
No, of course. I mean, it's to be fair, like it's a research team, analytics team, it's a content strategist, not a copywriter. So it's like you got more hands on. We have more hands on deck on the post than you otherwise would on your own. So totally understandable that, and that's what we do. Like that's literally what we do every day. So it's like we're not gonna try to practice law. We're just this is our thing. So
Hmm. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Jacob. We can touch base later. But I'll share if there's anything you want me to share with the group, I can do that. I can send a recap. We'll obviously have this recorded for folks who weren't able to make it. And, yeah, just thank you. Thanks again for showing us everything. And, if anyone's interested, just feel free to reach out to Jacob directly. I'll share his contact information after this.
yeah, awesome. It was great being here. Thanks, Brian.
Cool. All right. See y'all.
See ya.